I don't know if you saw the episode, but I had just posted it recently. But I talked to the original artist of Angry Birds,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah, yeah. That guy. Yeah.
yeah. And so like he's done a lot, believe it or not, like a lot. He's had like several companies and sold companies, and he's done a lot. And it was funny because like as I was talking to him, when it came to marketing, he's like, I have no idea what's going on. I have no clue. Like he just
It
and this
changes
guy's been around for
so
20 plus
much.
years with Angry Birds and all this stuff and everything that he's done. And you're just like, shit, man, nobody's got it together.
I mean, I think that's the. I mean, it's funny because like my day job and how I pay for all this stuff is doing, essentially like a CMO marketing consulting for like tech companies.
Oh, okay.
And I even tell those clients, I'm like, dude, it changes. Like, like 4 years
Oh,
ago,
yeah.
TikTok wasn't an entity. Now it is the entity.
Yeah.
Like if you're B2C, and like
Yeah.
it's just a new thing every week. And even I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just like try my best to show up. It's like going to the gym. You just show up and hope for the best. Can't over optimize it too much.
Yeah, no, I totally get that too as well. And that I've said this before, but it's one of the interesting things when it comes to like gaming or game dev marketing compared to like business marketing. I come from a business background as well. Is like, usually you put out a piece of marketing and you're trying to get some sort of call to action into some sort of, lead form or lead gen or some kind of building your top end funnel or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to game dev, it's like, no, you're just trying to put stuff out there that hopefully the community enjoys, shares, and then other people find it and enjoy it and share it. And it's like you're just trying to make viral content more or less.
It's very discovery based. Yeah, because that's the problem with the game funnel, right? It's like the two big gaps are like, how do you get someone to find out about what you're working on? And then once they do go in, how do you, and especially for the other questions, like how do you retain those people? Like, got to make sure, your game, if it's a Steam game, you got to make sure that someone's playing for more than 2 hours, so that you don't hit the return window. And like, and then it's also, so yeah, it's tricky. And like mobile, they're, obsessed with different metrics, but it's the same type deal, right? Which is just how do you keep people interested in a world of distraction? When like this, like I was laughing because I was talking to one of my friends about mobile games, and like, I'm always very impressed with the decisions they make, because anybody on mobile, like you're not competing against the other games, like you're competing against TikTok. And like, and you see these big mobile games, and I'm like, if that game fought against TikTok and won, like we need to learn about what they did, because they had to, like, like that's the competition. And it's always a very, I always nerd out about that stuff, because I'm like, well, like I was testing out Archero 2, and I was like, oh, they're doing some really smart things and how they're doing rewards and things like that. And it's very much just like, this, like, you have to be on the cutting edge, because you're not playing against anything else. You're like, you have to beat TikTok. They're the attention grabbers of the century.
They just got the reach. There's something about their algorithm that they just have the reach. Actually, like, this is so topical too. This actually kind of like makes me fucking crazy. But it's like YouTube, I don't know what they did with their long form. I used to do like some older long form stuff for a little while. That's what kind of happened to my channel. I kind of converted it more or less to do this show, or more centric to this show. But a while back, I was doing like Valorant content when it first came out, and it did decent. It did decent. And obviously the market or the audience was a little bit bigger at the time too. But they changed their long form discovery content to be more like the TikTok algorithm now. And so now it's all interest based. And it's like, so like, for instance, subscribers don't matter at all. Like,
the subscriptions
doesn't matter,
because used to matter, but now it will never show up on home. Yeah.
Exactly. And it doesn't. So that doesn't matter, because I'm subscribed to a ton of different channels. I haven't seen a piece of their content in probably years at this point.
I have to go to the
they still make content
specifically. Like you can't use home anymore. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so like, that's what's crazy to me. It's like, why they totally, like, we're having a huge digression here, but like, it's kind of frustrating to me, like me, like kind of like, cause I've started this channel more or less again. And it's like frustrating, because it's like, this isn't the first time I've tried to do YouTube and I had better traction. Oh God, what was that? 6 years, 6 years ago, 7 years ago at this point, before TikTok was even a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when it was still called Musically. You remember that?
Yeah, things have changed since then. Yeah, back
Yeah.
back in Justin
And so
TV's days and everything.
yeah, and so like, but either way, I felt like the algorithm was more fair. I felt like it gave you a little bit of a shot, where now, man, I don't know. It's like you just gotta wait for the algorithm to figure out who your audience is. And I'm like, dude, oh, at this point, I'm like 25 videos, episodes filmed.
Yeah, that's a lot of
Obviously,
work.
there's only like 12 in there at this point, but I have a lot more coming. But either way, I'm just like, it's like frustrating to me, because I'm like, I know my audience is out there, because I see people that do something similar to me, and I see the
Great, right?
views and stuff that they get, and I'm like, I should be getting, obviously not like what they get, but I think my videos, even starting out now, should be around 1,000 probably a video, close to. Let's just say I think it should be around 1,000.
Yeah, but it'll
Which
be
is
like
still
10.
very
You're like, what
modest,
the heck,
like
guys?
very modest for a new channel. And it's like, I'm just not hitting the mark, and I have to basically pray to the YouTube gods that they find my audience. And it's a little wonky, to be honest with you. It's a little wonky.
It's actually really interesting, because I've found, I mean, so it's the things that I nerd out about are like similar, right? Because I've found that, I've gone to the library much more to find detailed content, because algorithm sameness, right? Like, so I like cooking, I like even game design stuff. I would almost, and I take my kids to the library all the time, because it's just like, what am I going to do on a Saturday? I have 12 hours to burn,
I totally get it.
But
especially if you have a great
like,
library nearby.
Yeah, but I found way more valuable stuff, and a lot of it is because, everything will serve the algorithm in the end, just because that's the tool that's getting used to surface information. So all your information starts looking exactly the same. So if you look up, I love making, unhealthy snacks. So if you look up like s'mores cookies, the s'mores cookies you get on Google are like identical. They're all like this Toll House recipe that's just kind of cut and paste. Whereas if you go to the library, you'll find something unique in the recipe section. And it's very I think it's becoming very ubiquitous in terms of, it's going to be a change soon, where like, dude, I remember a day when I could research, like I loved doing like cordials. I could find these middle-aged recipes on Google. Now it's just like 10 blogs with like a article about cherries, and then like a tiny little recipe at the bottom. And you're like, guys, like I know your keyword stuffing. Stop. Like, just give me
I have to send you that's so funny, because I have to send you this video of someone made a video of that, because that drives me fucking crazy. You go and like you'll go and make a recipe, and it's literally like, I'll just have to send you the video. I don't want to say it or spoil it, because I'll butcher the punchline of the video, but it's like, it literally is just a novel. And I'm like, dude, what's the recipe? I'm like, they're like, this is where I first found the recipe, and it was passed down, and it's just like,
blah, blah, blah.
Dude,
and it's not like they just cut and pasted it from another recipe blog that was high SEO.
Stop screwing with SEO, dude. This is retarded. I just want to read a recipe. Come on, man. No, I totally get it. That drives me freaking nuts.
But that's the interesting thing. Like, I feel like, I don't think it's happened yet, but I feel like thoughtful. I mean, that's why I still do game design review videos, because like you said, like I still will try to post writing, editing videos on YouTube, game design review videos on YouTube, because I feel like to write, you need to edit, and to game design, you need to review and give critique to games. Like, I think that's part of building a skill set as a designer. And, even if like, one of them gets like 2.5 views, like, like for under 5 milliseconds of traction, it still is worth it, I think, to put them out there. But it's it's definitely like, hey, I just I think the valuable content wins out. But right now, discovery is
a weird
broken.
world.
It's absolutely broken.
It's the content machine is weird right now, and I think YouTube's gonna have to refigure this out, because it's true. I'm like sick of like, I do go through like, I like the old system. Maybe I'm just old, but I like the old system.
Me too. Why wasn't it back in my day? You could look at your subscribers.
Yeah. Oh man,
I had to walk uphill both ways to get a new YouTube video.
I was going to ask you. I know you're on the West Coast. Where about are you on the West Coast?
I'm in the Bay Area, so I'm just south of San Francisco. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I grew up in I grew up in Orange County, so
Oh, nice. I lived in
Huntington
LA
Beach,
for a
Orange County.
very
Yeah,
long time, and it's a good town.
yeah. I mean, it was great. So, and then I left and moved in the middle of the country. So,
I mean,
so
I've been eyeballing, like, you look at Zillow or whatever, and you're like, man, I could move to like
yeah,
Minnesota. Like, why it's not
yeah,
that bad.
yeah.
It's like I've lived in
I
Minnesota before. It's
mean,
an awesome place. Like, what am I doing
don't
here?
don't get me wrong. I mean, I get crazy in and out cravings
Oh,
often.
that's true. That's true.
So, I mean, I do get that. But
That's true. In and out is pretty hard to
yeah, I
beat.
was
But
just curious.
yeah. But in Arizona, they got In and Out now. So I'm like, man, Phoenix,
Yeah, that's
Tempe,
true.
like, you can live like a
Yeah,
king and have In and Out.
yeah, that's
And actually
true, man.
pursue
I
your
mean,
like passions of game design rather than, having to like
yeah.
juggle day jobs on day jobs.
Yeah, well, and that's what I mean, that is kind of like what mine and my wife's when we decided to make the move. It's been when did I move? 2021, I think. So it's been like 4
Oh,
years or
wow.
something
So
like this point.
right after Corona.
Yeah, like
Wow.
right after COVID. So we got those sweet, like 0% interest rate type stuff.
I respect that. You're
But
like,
I mean, it was one of
okay,
those things. I mean, you got kids and you're like, okay, where is the future at? And it's like you look in California and it's like everything's $1 million plus. You're looking at a
nuts.
two bed, two bath,
Like
1,000 square
shack.
foot,
Yeah.
anywhere near, I grew up in Huntington Beach, so it's like the
Yeah.
same kind of ordeal. It's
LA
all
or
right up by the
anything.
beach.
Yeah.
I mean, you're million plus for it. And you're like, what the, are you kidding me? That's
Yeah.
insane. No.
It's not a happy time in real estate. Well, I guess it's great
Mm.
for realtors. They're probably like, all right.
Oh yeah, of
But
course. But
for
it's
everybody
a
else
mess.
trying to like just like live their life, it's a little spicier.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Oh
Man.
man. Well, this was fun.
Well,
Good little
now
warm
I'm
up.
depressed. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm just listen.
So I kind of I don't know if this is like my superpower or just maybe it's not a superpower, maybe it's really bad of me. But I don't like to really look up too much about people when I see them or talk about them. Only because like I kind of like the discovery of who you are. And
Heck
so
yeah.
like I obviously do minor research just to kind of pull up some of your stuff, but like I didn't know are you primarily an author and then you're kind of dabbling into game design, or how does your world kind of shape out right now?
My world has had a lot of strange turns. I mean, I can give you the very, very high level is like, years ago, I was in LA pursuing screenwriting. Brother started a tech company up here, joined him, worked there for many years, and then started kind of consulting, with tech people to keep the lights on, and then doing kind of more creative projects, on the side. And so like the writing and the game design stuff, in my mind falls under the same umbrella of like experience design, which is like, how do you
Mhm.
make, a memorable experience, something that's going to have story that someone's going to walk away with. And so
Mhm.
I found, there's in my mind a surprising amount of overlap between storytelling and game, and like a lot of the same principles of like, hey, how do you
Yep.
onboard someone? How do you hook? I mean, I think that's honestly something I need to work on in World Seekers.
Mm.
Because I think the hook is a little soft in a lot of respects, but those are
Mm.
kind of the things that have kind of emerged is, been pursuing, one of my colleagues asked me to build some projects for their SDK, gaming SDK years ago. And so I
Mhm.
started making puzzle games for them. And then, that's kind of evolved into, so much of storytelling is happening in video games, right? Like like a lot more people remember, what happened, in Final Fantasy VII than they
Yeah.
did in their like English class when they were reading Macbeth, right?
Oh yeah,
Like,
100%.
like, oh
100%.
man, Sephiroth, like, like, and so to some degree, like as like someone who says, hey,
So
I
true.
think stories make us more human. They're really important to tell. Um, it kind of comes down to, hey, like, what are, where are stories being told right now? And it's in games a lot. I think
Yeah.
novels still do different things. Like, I think it's a different type of experience. And I think it has, value in its own. So we'll see after, if World Seekers does well, I'm going to do a bunch more writing in World Seekers. If it kind of
Mm.
just foodles out, which, 90% of games are going to,
Mhm.
then I'll be like, okay, great, maybe I'll do some more novel writing after that. But that's been kind
Mhm.
of the approach, is telling stories where people are listening to them, and where hopefully
Mhm.
you can bring some good into the world, right, through storytelling.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And so, like, just speaking into like World Seeker specifically, because like what I did look up about it, it's a GPS game, so it's kind of like a Pokemon Go esque feel. And
Mhm.
so, as far as like, give me some background on like, well, and also it's on Steam, so I'm just kind of curious logistically how that actually shapes out to be a GPS game on Steam.
Yes, that's a
Just generally
common
curious.
question. So don't
So
worry, you're in the right track.
yeah, yeah. And so, as far as the story goes, so this is when you designing this game, your inception, like, coming up with the inception of it, like, you wanted to obviously translate your skills into writing into this game, and then you like just kind of give me that background. Like, what was the inception of coming up with World Seekers? Be like, okay, so I'm gonna do GPS, and I want it to be heavy narrative, or like what's the story you're trying to tell with this?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the focus of like the experience design, with all these things. And I know it's like very highfalutin, but it's sort of like, hey, how do you like improve someone's life by going through an experience? And like, like if you
Mm.
think that, so I think it's all like, hey, I remember very much like when I was working in tech, playing the like kind of the very early precursors to Pokemon Go, like Ingress. And before that,
Mm,
was not even gamified,
that's
but this
right.
project called Field Trip that
Mm,
was Niantic's first project. And I thought it was, really fantastic. And I remember playing those games, having a super great time, and like feeling better because I was going outside every day and like doing like these like walks through the city and discovering new
yeah,
things. And, I was like, oh, wow, this is like really beneficial. But the gameplay, at least in my perspective, kind of fizzled out once you got to a certain level. Like, there's kind of nothing else
yeah,
to do. You were just kind of rinse and repeating. And I feel like the, Niantic, and those other projects like never really evolved past that. So, I obviously felt there was a
mm,
need there. And then in terms of the creative side, also sort of saying, hey, like there are, I think, creative opportunities in GPS games that are being underutilized. Like I think it's like often it's a whole new, every time there's a new like, way of interfacing with a game environment, like I think, I try to like be like, ooh, like what's that? And lean forward because
mm,
you can deliver a lot of a different experience
yeah,
through those things, right? And so, it's sort of like, I don't know if I was lucky enough because I'm out here to go to GDC and they have like the alt GDC where they have all these different controller types, and like someone had a
mm.
game where like your controller is a knife you're like mushing through your
Oh,
fingers.
jeez.
And like it's not like a real knife, but like it's
Right, yeah, right.
but it's giving you a completely different experience because like you're interfacing with something completely differently. And
Yeah,
I think those are I think those are some, like I was like, oh, GPS is it's like a new controller, it's a new thing, like
yeah,
we should be
of
looking at
course.
it. And then for better or for worse, like a lot of the folks that were there already just started rinsing and repeating, right? Like Niantic was just like, oh great, we'll just reuse all our Ingress things and make Pokemon
Yep,
Go, and then we'll just reuse Pokemon Go for Harry Potter worlds, and we'll just reuse Harry Potter worlds for and they just started kind of sitting on their laurels, which I think was honestly too bad. um
yeah,
and so I don't even think, that I very highly doubt this game is going to be a commercial success, but like to some degree, I just hope that, somebody else can say, oh, hey, this was somebody who was trying to experiment with these
mm,
mechanics and trying to give someone a new narrative experience, right? And like
mm,
obviously like the aspirational thing is like, how do you make your neighborhood feel like have as much story and depth and excitement as
mm,
Disneyland, right? Like everyone
mm,
goes to Disneyland. I mean, that's obviously the extreme example, but like
right,
you're in a different world, you're going through this like narrative experience live. And I think GPSs have that capability, GPS
mm,
games. And so the question is like, hey, maybe at least some of the ideas we have in World Seekers can help someone, in the future who's way smarter than me, build that next layer, right? Towards it.
yeah,
Cause I think it's achievable. And, getting someone outside and walking and getting sun, I think is one of the best gifts you can give
yeah,
somebody as a player.
mhm.
And so that's
And
something I'm
like,
always thinking about.
yeah, yeah, and I mean, just to hammer the fact. I mean, Pokemon Go like destroyed the aperture. I mean, people like, God, I remember when that thing came out, and then people are just like all over the street. Like I remember wherever I was at the time, but I remember down by the pier, and there was just like a sea of people. And it's like to have that type of, I mean, it's once in
It's
a
a
lifetime
different
because I'm not.
experience than you've ever had playing another game.
It's unreal, man. I just remember some of that. I mean, there was so many people, and I remember people like screaming because they
There's
found
a
like I don't know,
Pikachu
or whatever.
yeah.
There was so many people, and then you hear all of a sudden you just start to see people running, and you're just like, "What the hell's going on?" And people's like, "Somebody saw this or whatever," and you'll be running. You're like, "Oh God, it's a Gyarados!" And you're like running over there, trying to catch it as fast as possible. But I think you're right as far as like the GPS being basically a function of a controller. It is a piece of the new controller, and it reminds me of there's this new handheld. It's not that new, but it's like relatively new. Ah, crap, what's it called?
It has play date with the little
with the crank.
winder on
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
I love this
that
stuff.
thing is.
I'm always looking at new controller stuff.
Yeah, that thing's rad. By the way, yeah, someone introduced it to me just recently. I'm like, I might need to buy one. Not only do I want to buy one, but I'm like, dude, I want to make a game for this. This is rad.
But I'm like, oh God, do I have my other projects?
Yeah. No,
like,
same.
oh
I totally get it.
Like,
but I think it's really cool, like opening up the lens as far as when it comes to like what's possible, what is a controller, what is your input to make something happen. And obviously going outside and like getting that. I mean, nobody did as much to getting people active as Pokemon Go did. Like that was like the king of people. Like, you want to go, like, people lost.
Go on a walk.
Like,
like people would be like, hey, you want to come over and go on a walk? Like, when does that happen and play? Like,
Yeah. That was crazy. Those were crazy times. I still see people every so often, depending on where I am, if it's a more populated area and stuff like that. But obviously it's not like when it first came out. When it first came out, it was absolutely. I remember I went on my honeymoon with my wife in Hawaii. And I remember where we were staying, there was like this little like area where people, I don't remember what it was, but
Pokestop or something. Everyone was like, this is where we go.
It was huge because it was like right when it came out, more or less, and people just walking around Hawaii, like playing Pokemon Go. And I was like, dude, that's crazy. But I think it's cool. I think it's a cool idea to add to what, they've more or less pioneered, or the idea of what they pioneered more or less. And, blow that aperture up. But so like, shit, what was I going to say? I had a question right on top of me. I was going to say something and then it totally, Steam. So why are we on Steam? Like, why is this not just a mobile game? Like, what's the direction here?
Yeah, I mean, so we're technically probably behind the curve in terms of like being able to realize, I think, the full capabilities of what you can do with like that blend between Steam and mobile. But I do think that like, there's so many opportunities between, to refine the Pokemon Go experience, right? Because like some of the downsides of Pokemon Go were like you had to be outside to play. If you were back home,
right,
the game was just, at least until much more recently, where they just added a bunch of stuff where you really don't have to leave anymore.
Where you just teleport to wherever you wanted to go or something like that, right?
Yeah, and so like our thinking there is like kind of twofold. Is hey, there's some thumbstick mechanics on computer where you can say, oh, hey, I want to virtually walk around and, a virtual city and like kind of just like play the game. But then the other flip side is, and this is something we're hoping to kind of evolve even more, is, this foraging mode that we just kind of released. And like the V1 is sort of very, very basic, but like long term, you can go on a walk or go on a run. It's collecting stuff for you automatically. And you can go back home and like play through the content on your computer or on your phone, wherever you want. And that's like the long-term vision of saying, hey, again, there are ways to integrate GPS into a play experience, no matter what you're doing, right? And I think those are, the questions that I hope, at least, if nothing else comes of World Seekers, that somebody with a way bigger brain than mine can go and like be like, hey, like this is what it would look like in that evolved state, right? Is to say, they're like, GPS can be an integral part of a game control environment on PC and mobile. We have tools, we have single sign-on, we have all these things that cloud sync your data. And it's really not hard to say, hey, I go and collect an hour worth of stuff. I have my phone in my pocket. I don't have to look at it the whole time. But then I
Mhm.
can come back and have, that discovery of, oh, what did I find? Like, that moment of
Mm.
like, I went out in the world and found something real. Those I think are very rare moments to get on PC. And so those are
Mhm.
kind of, in my mind, like the final form of what that could look like. So,
Yeah.
we're very early in terms of what
Yeah.
that's actually gonna be, because like it's just like me and one other dude just like trying to make this thing just not break at this point.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
I was, actually, it reminds me of, I don't know, I can't think of the specific game, but, like, where you would set up, like, almost like in a the first game that comes to mind is, like, Monster Hunter. I don't know why,
Mhm.
but, like, for instance, you would set up your cats to go, like, collect stuff out in the world, and instead of you sending the cats, you send yourself
Yeah.
to go collect those materials, more or
Yeah.
less. And so that's the kind of the thought that really sparks me is, like, you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna go on whatever X quest, and I'm gonna go walk, for 2, 3 miles or something like that, and then I come back, and then I get to basically sync everything up and see what I got."
And you think about like big games, like I had honestly my like because I remember everyone got on Diablo 4's case for in Diablo Immortal or whatever, the mobile version, that
Mm.
everyone was like, no. But I was like, oh man, that would have been the perfect one. Like, like a
Yeah.
true Diablo, like walking around in GPS, like,
Mm.
the randomness. But like you said, like if you're sitting in a computer playing Diablo 4 all day, what if you collected your rift keys by going on a walk? That would actually give you like a better relationship with the game, right? Like
Mhm.
I play, but I'm not like logging 50 hours. And I remember with World of Warcraft, there are people starving to death while playing, and you're like,
Yeah.
like you can, there's ways to like reward people taking care of themselves. It's just, taking that step to do so. And like, even if it's
Yeah.
like a very simple step counter in like your companion app, like all these PC games have companion apps now, and
Yeah.
then you can say, oh, hey, you get like X skins if you've walked, 1,000, 10,000 steps a day. Great.
Mhm.
Like, cool. And then it can be as advanced as you unlock a rare dungeon, it can go as, advanced as you want. But I think that, you know, uh, the whole reason I was like, I'm gonna stop doing novels for a little bit to do this was, very much around the thesis of, hey, this is like a whole new way of controlling a virtual world, interacting with it. And, we're kind of, we had the minimum viable product, like the first iteration, but a lot of, projects have kind of stopped there. They were like, okay, cool. This is what GPS games are. And I just don't believe
Mhm.
that's true at all.
Yeah. I mean, it reminds me of, like, early VR,
Hmm.
early VR, I mean, people kind of assumed, "Oh, okay, this is it. Like, this is what it is." And I feel like it wasn't until that kid built the Oculus, the very first version that he threw up on, like, Kickstarter, and then all
Hmm.
of a sudden it turned into that because, they just assumed, and then, the innovation took it off. So you're right, like, that GPS, activity, I feel like you're right, people are overlooking it in a way, and this could be a very interesting way to reintroduce it in, in a way that, isn't just Pokemon. Isn't just Pokemon Go,
I
essentially,
mean, that's
you
that's the
know?
hope. I mean, if Nintendo wants to, use our engine, like
Uh-huh, of course.
I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
doubt the might of the Pokemon IP. Like, I think we're
Oh, yeah.
definitely starting from behind. It is like
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
kingdom that will never fall. But it's one of those things though that like, I feel like yeah, I mean, with the other games we made, like I was always very happy when like, we made like a chess puzzle game and we're building a hex one. We had people like, as weird as it sounds, we had people like rip off the chess game and start making their own versions of it. And I was like, that's great. Like, let somebody, that game never really made money for us. Like, it was more of a passion project. And it was just like, oh,
Mm,
awesome. Like, chess is an amazing, it's good for your brain. It's an amazing thing
yeah,
to involve oneself with. And it was just cool seeing people like, yeah, just keep on running with it. Like, it doesn't have to be me that like, like that solves it, but it's just
yeah,
always fun to see like, hey, you know, can you at least like say, hey, other developers, like this is where we should be looking and
yeah.
hey, look, this is like my crappy version of what you could do. And like, just extrapolate that into like your better version, and go from there.
So you brought up your engine. So I'm curious, what are you building this in?
So this is still all in Unity, but in terms of how we have not built our own engine, but it's mostly in terms of how we're serving content and like building content stuff is how I think about it, right? Which is, and the other things like we're trying to say that, hey, you can do this different in GPS is like in World Seekers, there's a biome system, right? Where if you play a bunch of fire cards, the area lights on fire, and then fire monsters come out, and then fire dungeons start spawning. And then, if you put it out, it's like that alchemy game. You do a bunch of water cards, it doesn't go back to like grass, it goes to like mud, and it just evolves. And so it's being able to say, hey, you can show someone on their daily walk, they don't have to go off and do something, like Pokemon Go, like made you go to the beach to find water Pokemon, which is a valid approach, but I don't think it's the only one. I don't think it's like the MVP. And so those were, again, questions that, we were looking at is to say, hey, how do we say, yeah, this is the way it's been done. Everybody's done it this way, but it doesn't have to be that way. And those were a lot of the, I guess, the engine things I'm, talking about is more like the mechanics engine of, hey, like you can give someone a full game experience, whether they're in the city with high density of points of interest, or whether they're in, the middle of nowhere with no density of point of interest, and they can still play the entire experience. And that's like the hope. And so that's where, another one of our kind of like things we're pushing really hard on is.
Yeah. And I'm looking, sorry, I'm not like distracted. I'm looking at your game as you're talking to. So that's because I pull everything up too over here. So that way I was looking at it. And as far as I'm just curious, as far as your art goes in this game, where did you have an artist? Did you use Mid-Journey?
Both.
Or these
no, like
assets?
no, like we bought a lot of asset packs, and obviously there's gaps, and so we filled some of those in. Most of it now is asset packs. There's a few things that we used, Mid-Journey and ChatGPT's image thing to get something specific. And I tell people, I was like, I wish I could, I know it's a contentious topic on AI, and there's a lot of people like, get that out of gaming.
Yeah.
But to some degree, it's sort of like, hey, I either have a finished product or I don't. And like, the art's not going to look as fancy as it would if I had someone with like vision and their own, really clear picture. But, kind of everything else, is mostly asset packs, right? And just sort of saying, hey, the thing we're trying to showcase is the mechanics. And, my art is particularly not great, especially the ones I've like made myself, which are like, look like my kids drew them. And like, it's not a great, it's not its strongest suit, but is what it is.
Yeah, and I'm generally more neutral on the subject anyway. I think the people the diehard people that are so anti-AI in general are kind of psychos. I think it's inevitable, realistically. I mean, it's just the direction of way things are headed. And I've kind of said this before, but it's just like I feel like the gap or the leap from where we were to where AI was when they first kind of like things started really coming out that was actually like feasible. I think the leap between where we were to where AI was so great that it just shocked people into just like wanting to burn the witch type of mentality. Just like, it's too scary. We have to shut it down. We can't do this. And I'm like, guys, this is coming whether you like it or not. Like the second ChatGPT came out, it basically started the AI wars. It's all over, and it's basically it's happening.
It's a moot point. Once people realized how much money they could make from it, the decision was made.
Yeah. Well, not only, and also productivity. Once people got their hands on it too, and they could kind of see what it could do, you're just going, holy crap. There's been a lot of argument as far as like, is it going to take jobs or is it going to make those people that have the jobs more productive? It's hard to say right now. I think it's because people, what they assume, like for me, it's actually made me more efficient because I've been able to use AI for things that
like coding,
I just wasn't ever gonna do.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm never gonna do it anyway. But then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh shit, I can do it. Like for instance, me and my team, we have meetings for making our game and stuff like that. And during our meetings, you know, whether someone made notes or something like that, be like, what were we supposed to, what was the task? Blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? No one would ever remember anything. And it was no one would ever take responsibility to actually pay attention enough to write anything down. And so we would all just kind of write our own notes of what we think we need to get done. But you know, that's so unorganized. Now I record our meetings. I take the transcript, throw in a ChatGPT and say, make me a meeting summary and give me the action items out of it. And now it's like, holy crap. So it's like, that took a job that was never even available.
Wanted to do. That everyone
was never a job
done,
to begin with. Yeah. And if anything, it just made us more efficient. Like, what is somebody that's like anti-AI going to say? Oh, you should have hired a VA to listen to your conversation. I'm like, dude, we're an first time indie dev. What $0? Hey, you want to volunteer on this and listen to my meetings and make
notes, go crazy.
Notes? Yeah, give me a break. They'll tell me to pound sand. So it's like, that's the other part of it too, that I've gotten in arguments with people. It's just like they've tried to express that it's like there's these ethereal people out there that like will help you no matter what. Just go out there and ask people. They're more than willing to help you and stuff. I'm like, dude, that's not the case. I'm like, you would be so surprised how unwilling people are.
On a project is so hard.
Yeah. So unwilling to contribute to a project for a long period of time with the hopes that hopefully it's successful.
It's
just
impossible.
it's not real.
One in a million people.
Yeah, it's a fantasy land. Yeah. And most of the time the people that are complaining are usually just professional complainers on the internet anyway. So it's like, I mean, AI is coming. It's like the way I've said it before is like, it's going to be more, not expected, but more like, not accepted, but more expected. Like people are just going to assume that you use some AI in certain things. Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. And for me, in my perspective, like I said, I feel like it's more and making it's making people more productive on things that they weren't ever going to do. And I don't think it's there to take people's jobs yet.
Well, it's also like, does it count? Like, you know, so many people now are using ChatGPT as their therapist. And there are studies that say it's better than many therapists.
I heard about that.
And then the question is, well, does it count that this dev used AI as his therapist? Maybe he didn't use it for code, but he might have been talking to AI about like his hard day or whatever. And it's helping him. Like, you know, does that count as like shame? You know, it's really hard. It's really hard to define those lines.
I totally forgot about that actually, until you just brought it up.
But it's wild. And the things that are really curious too is like, you know, as like a writer, like I don't feel very threatened currently by AI and writing. Like you know, there's some clear signs, like, you know, like it's not anywhere close to what a human can do with storytelling. I still think storytelling is something is something that like so nuanced. It's very, very hard to explain to a machine. Like if I was explaining ChatGPT how to write a story, if I wanted it the way I want it, I would have to use such detail in my prompt that I'm pretty much just writing the story already. Like, you know what I mean? Like you have to be so detailed in your input that the output, you know, is going to need that level of detail to get the output to be that level of detail. And so like, you know, my hope is with World Seekers, and like, obviously, this is much more aspirational, is to say, you know, I was really impressed by this game called Infinite Craft by Neil.Fun. He kind of does these things where it's sort of that little alchemy game where you drag like water and fire to make new combinations, and you can just go infinitely. And it's using an LLM to like add new content if someone discovers new content. Like, you know, that would be like the ultimate, you know, version of our biome system, right? This is, you know, our biome system is essentially, you know, that Infinite Craft game in a lot of respects. But then imagine like, hey, I discovered a new biome. It generated 3 new monsters I could fight, 3 new items I could find if I beat the boss. And like, you know, that type of endless discovery, I think, especially when, you know, our project has an enormous amount of scripted content, you know, to feed in, right? So I can say, hey, look, like the narrative in World Seekers has probably like 80,000 words. That's a novel. Like there's so much narrative in World Seekers. It's novel length. And then the game design content, like the biomes and stuff, we have a good amount of that as well. But then, the question for me as a creative is to say, hey, if I can, feed that to, an AI and say, hey, generate, like if someone is like really playing like crazy and we've already had this where they run to the end of my content, like that's a lot. Like, for our
Yeah.
testers to get to the end of 80,000 where like they finished the novel pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, and then I'm in the place as a developer where it's like, okay, I need to go hour for hour to either build more stuff, or I can say, hey, look, you can discover it. Maybe AI generates the first version and I can revise it and make sure that it's really good before we put it in long term. Like those are much more, I mean, that is, as an indie dev, like someone who wants to develop an experience of exploration. I've seen some really amazing games that have even used, and that's another thing that I obsessively test every time someone sends me a key for an AI based game. I'm always very curious to see how they're building the interaction loop with an LLM. And I think there is a lot of really cool stuff where you're trying to trick the LLM into saying something that it, like, or you're trying to like get it to do something. And like, there's a lot, again, it's a new mechanical tool. Yes, there are some downsides. Yes, and as a mechanic in and of itself, there's a lot of cool opportunities. And then as like a way to bolster your game design and your output, I think there's a lot of opportunities. So yeah, I'm very much like, hey, the depressingly practical side of me is like, if there's this much money coming from these companies, there's no way in a million years they're going to get regulated away. Like, just
No.
like
No.
everything in the
happen.
US, for better or for worse, is extremely capitalism based. The government will support the thing that makes the most tax revenue. Like, it's not going away. And so to some degree, it really comes down to, hey, what's the human touch we can put on it that makes it unique, that makes it, interesting and something that, somebody else will want to sink their teeth into. And so, yeah, sorry, that's a long rant, but I appreciate your patience.
No, you're
listening
fine.
to me ramble.
I mean, that's my, this whole show is me 90% of the time rambling about nonsense. But no, it's so true. I mean, you're right. Absolutely right. It's not going anywhere. And you have to also ask yourselves, like, do you want it really to go anywhere? Like, what's the option? Let's just say, let's play this scenario out. This is my favorite game. I love playing this scenario out.
Spoken like a true parent.
Let's just say we ban AI. We ban it. It's gone. No one can use AI here. Well, that means another country's going to develop it. And then they're going to get the benefits of AI. And like I said, that exponential productivity that it provides, those additional things that it can do for you. I mean, think a robot essentially can work 24/7 as long as you feed it power. It will work indefinitely forever. And so, like, us as humans are limited to how much and how long we can do something, where a robot can do it forever. And so it's like, you just look, it's gonna happen whether we like it or not. ChatGPT, OpenAI, which they basically let the genie out of the bottle. They said, you know what, screw it, let's make a paid off, let's just throw it out there and show the world what we got. And they let the genie out, and now it's the AI wars between all these different companies basically fighting for supremacy. And and not only companies, but countries. I mean, now the countries are all fighting over its supremacy. And it's just like, it's gonna get crazy, man. I don't know. It's scary. Well, there's been some videos that I've seen lately that like that are there. Who just did that? There's somebody. Somebody, a big company, just made a completely AI generated ad, like video
Coca-Cola.
ad.
Coca-Cola.
And another one. It was for a sports. Crap. I think it was for sports basketball or something like that. I don't know anything about sports, but anyway. But there was my wife showed it to me. You can't tell. Like, well, I mean, you can kind of like, because obviously there's not a real person sitting on top of an alligator. However,
it looks a lot like it though.
But you're looking at it going like, what the hell am I looking at? And it's getting so close. And my wife just brought this up too. I'm like, man, models, like, you see those, like, you go to Target and you see like the models on the images or whatever. That is one thing I will say. Those jobs are gone. Those are completely going to be
I mean,
AI.
the crazy thing is you'll put your face in and you'll say this jacket and it will generate a picture of you with that jacket on. You know, like that's
Jesus,
the way
man.
it's gonna be, and it's amazing. Like, you know, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, if I could predict the future, I would be a zillionaire, right?
Oh
Like, I would
God,
have
yeah, no
bought
kidding.
Apple when it was like 50 cents when I was like 10 years old. You know,
I
like, but
right before I was such a stupid idiot, man. Right before Nvidia, been in IT my whole life,
yeah,
and so like that's basically I come from the IT business world, and so like right when they signed that the Chips Act or whatever like that, and I saw Nvidia basically getting the lion's share of it, and I was like,
it's like,
I should buy Nvidia. And I knew I should have bought Nvidia, but for some reason, it's just like one of those things like, you know, I'm sure it'll do okay, but like you don't expect. And then like, holy shit, it's like, I don't even know. It's like a minimum
wacky.
10x
Yeah,
since the Chips Act. And I'm like, I screwed up. I should have just bought. What was I thinking? Of course it would blow up at this point, but man, it's just one of those, oh God.
yeah.
Whatever.
It's the way
Now I'm
that,
doing a show. Now I'm doing a show on YouTube talking to indie devs.
freaking viewers, man. Those freaking Nvidia's screwing up the algorithm.
I know it's only going to get even more obviously now with AI and all that stuff too. I'm curious what other chips are actually going to come out that try to compete with Nvidia. Nvidia's been obviously on a dominant streak for a while now.
I nerd out about this stuff, so be careful. I will talk a lot about it.
No, that's great. I love it. I mean, I'd love to see Intel try and make a comeback. Obviously, they've been completely obliterated by AMD, but I'd love to see them make a comeback because they were so good for so long. They were number one for so long, and they made great chips. And then all of a sudden, AMD figured out how to hyper-thread a CPU, and they're like, oh crap, these things are fast.
Yeah.
It was the funniest thing for me to witness because I was like, of course, duh.
It goes really fast.
Yeah.
No, it's amazing. I mean, I think I've been really interested too, is because a lot of these models are using like the weighted model system as their backbone. And so analog computing is also really, really interesting, where like, you know, rather than binary, right? Rather than like the 0-1 digital, like people are saying, oh, hey, like how much, those have been like, there's people building like kind of analog chipsets to do these types of things, which is like really interesting.
Yeah.
I just like, so that's obviously way above my pay grade. I just like watch YouTube videos and be like, oh, cool. But, it is amazing. And like the way things are evolving in terms of compute and what you can do. And then everyone's, building their own quantum computers now that can, read our minds or something. Like it's pretty wacky.
I think it's hard to read your mind's a good way of putting it, because it's basically supposed to predict what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to predict what you're supposed to do. Anyway, we don't need to do that.
20 days from
that's
now.
Way. Yeah. I watched some stuff on like IBM on their secret laboratory on their basically their quantum computer that they've been working on for the last like 30 years or whatever. And it's pretty scary.
It's kind of crazy though that those things are the coldest objects in the known universe.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like that. We made the coldest thing in the universe. That we know of.
That's
obviously
crazy. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, but it's
so anyway.
We
went off on
these days.
Yeah. We went down a tangent on that's for sure. But where do we go from here? So. Hold on, let me think for a second.
No, dude, no worries. I also, been trying vibe coding, projects with some of these things and not letting myself touch the actual code. That's been very fun.
What is that? What are you doing?
So they call it vibe coding, where you just put in an LLM prompt and then it spits out whatever. So I've tried doing a game, tried doing a few, had my nephew, type in like, I want to make like a battle game. And I was like, look, man, you just type it in and it can happen. So it's pretty
weird.
It's a wild world right now. You should check out V0 by Versal, or I think
V0.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Here, I'll put it in the. I don't know if there's a little chat thing, but yeah, there's
V0 AI. There it is. That reminds me of Canva just put out their like AI tool set or whatever that they integrated, and it was funny because they had their like AI code or something like that. And basically it's more or less that same kind of thing, where it's like you just basically prompt it into existence. And my wife's been nagging me to like not nagging me, but she's been bugging me. She wants me to make this game for her. It's just a clicker, but it's like a K-pop clicker thing or whatever.
Oh
And I'm
yeah,
just like, I'm completely at capacity, so I'm like, I have no time
dude,
to do
V0,
anything.
you can build it. They're using
Yeah.
TypeScript and like JS, to just kind of like do these little like mini prototypes.
That's crazy. Well, so and she did it on the Canva one, and
Oh,
it
nice.
it was shockingly good. Like, obviously, it's like it's missing assets. It's probably not optimized. It's not perfect, but like just the base concept of the game loop that it built was shockingly good. I was like, what the damn? That was crazy.
Yeah, it's wild.
This stuff's fun. I got really into pretty much when ChatGPT came out. I was like, what just happened? Like, for me, it was like a it was almost like a we discovered the internet type of event happened. You know what I mean? Like, as far as when it comes to the world, like ChatGPT came out and it just like once again smashed that aperture open. We're like, holy crap, everything's gonna change right now, and it has, and it 100% has. Since that's come out, it's been all AI. Everyone's focused 100% on it, and it's just like also the growth or the technology leaps are just getting exponential. It's like a straight line up, you know, compared to like when I first started messing with it to like where it is now and what the videos and stuff and everything.
Yeah, the videos are wild. Like VO3 is insane. It's nutty.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm glad Google finally figured something out because they were getting their lunch was getting eaten. For sure. So
yeah, I mean that's honestly like with this game, like as like a marketing, like even for World Seekers, I'm like, oh, like I can, a lot of like the marketing assets that are performing well right now, they vary between like the really, really mobile ones and like the ones where the dev is like talking and being like, oh, like you should try my game, blah, blah, blah. But then I'm like, oh yeah, you can use AI to say, at the start of the video, it's normal. At the end of the video, my hair is made of fire. And then all of a sudden that dev video becomes like so much more interesting because you're like, you should check out my game. And like flames are like floating off my head. Like, and obviously that's like an extreme example, but it's like, hey, a lot of these eye-catching, hook-worthy things that were just inaccessible to someone without the tools, without the scale, or like, hey, I can start, at least testing and just being like, hey, does this hit the audience? Does it resonate? No. But yeah, I mean, I still think it really just comes down to like the human element is still always going to be necessary. Like there needs to be someone with the vision, like understanding the world and putting a vision out. But the ways to do that with the new tools are like completely new.
Yeah, what I'm hoping with AI in general is that it opens up. One of the big things is like I feel like it's lowering leveling the playing field, and I hope that a lot more people. It's making these creative, doing something creative more accessible. Like you said earlier, but I'm in the same boat. I cannot draw. Like I'm like doodles.
Yeah, it's bad,
and I'm like barely doodles, and I'm also a big D&D nerd, so it's like what I started doing first was just like conceptualizing some of my D&D characters. Hold on, I want to pause just a second. My wife's about to change. Yeah, go ahead. She's got to change the youngest.
Aww. How old are the little ones?
Well, the one that's getting changed is 1, and then I have a 7-year-old.
Oh, so, that's a gap. All right.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a gap. Yeah.
we have a 6-month-old and a 4.5-year-old, so we got the 4-year gap. So we're trying to figure that.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Probably best
4 years is a spicy age. It's just like like the baby
4
feels
years,
so much easier now. You're just like, baby doesn't give me attitude. The baby just is sweet. The other one is so like, true. Screw you, like you're wrong, and I'm like, buddy, like I respect your point of view, but you are 4, like my friend.
But you're 4. Yeah. My favorite age was 2, and it's just funny because everyone called it terrible 2s. But 2, that was like peak cuteness.
Oh yeah,
the peak cuteness was 2.
And 3s
they're still cute now, but now she's big.
Yeah, and then it's 3-nagers, and then it's just it's just the realization of, oh man, I guess I got to still learn to be more patient. Okay, I thought I learned patience, but there's more patience still to learn.
Well, they are masters at testing it. That's for sure.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
What was I saying? No, I forgot what I was saying. Naturally, that was the quietest she's ever been, ever. Like, that's why I was like, we gotta wait a second, because anytime she's getting changed, she's like, it's literally like mayhem. And I'm like, naturally,
me, like I'm in danger. Yeah.
Oh my god, it's ridiculous. We had a birthday party for my eldest, and I was changing the 1-year-old, and she was just losing it. And my wife was in the other room, and she was just like, there was other parents there. She's like, is she okay? And she's like, oh, that's just what she does. When she gets changed, she acts like she's being attacked.
Yeah. For our first, we would just call it like, okay, take him to the baby torture chamber. And that would just be, changing him. Just take him to the torture chamber, put him in the dungeon, and be like,
it's,
you're like, dude.
Yeah, dude, you're like, chill. God, you're fine. You're fine.
The kids have no chill.
No,
they are very low on chill.
Oh, absolutely. Well, shoot. Now I'm trying to remember what I was saying before they came in.
Some AI, all the new stuff.
It doesn't matter. It was, like I said, it was probably nonsense. Like, I ramble on about nothing, so it probably didn't matter actually that much.
I'm right there with
you.
Man. But I kind of want to hear. I know this is like, I kind of want to hear about your guys' game project and kind of what your vision is for it and how it's going and what some of your ups and downs have been in the journey.
Yeah, this could be this will be like the behind the scenes take of it, because I don't like to put too much of my game in the videos, because it's more supposed to be about you and your guys' stuff and our conversation. But I'll give you a little bit of background, I guess. No, it's been good. It's been stressful at times, very stressful.
Yeah.
But it's been it's an interesting. There's a lot changing with it right now. We just had a playtest, and
I saw you guys getting feedback in your Discord, which was awesome.
Yeah, the playtest was awesome for the amount of feedback we got, and good, solid feedback that we needed, because earlier in the year, in December, we tried to do a playtest and like basically had nobody play our game. We had we put it out there, we put a playtest, we tried to market it, try to get people to play it, and nobody played. And we're just like, shit. And so that's what kind of also led me to the realization. I'm like, nobody knows who we are, nobody knows our game, nobody knows anything. And so that's what I was like, I told the other devs, I was like, dude, I'm gonna do this show. Hopefully we can get some eyeballs on the game, like just, kind of shooting your shot, grasping at straws, doing whatever you can. And I'm kind of crazy. I'll do whatever, I'll just like go for it.
You have to.
Yeah. And so we, things have been great since the show. We've had attention on the game. We have people in the Discord where, basically a lot of what I was trying to do worked. And finally got people and devs and other people from communities, other communities.
I gotta make a podcast show. I gotta get off my ass.
Yeah, have a QA and stuff like. Yeah, man, it was just a wild idea. I was like, maybe I'll try this thing out and see what happens. Anyway, so we got the feedback. We got tons of feedback, and it was great feedback. And it's there's kind of like an internal rift between me and the 4 other devs. I'm like the odd man out, but the biggest problem is I think I'm
who wants to stay true to the vision, or who wants to listen to player feedback and adjust, or what's the?
Oh man, without trying to get too specific, I generally just believe, I think they're overreacting. That's my big thing. I think they're overreacting to one of the things is that there's a multiplayer. It's a multiplayer like Vampire Survivor, but it's like a PvP.
I remember, yeah.
Yeah, and it's it's PvP, so you play against 3 other players. So it's 4 players, you and 3 others. But you don't ever really see the other players. What you do is you have these abilities that you can send over onto their map to make it more difficult for them to be playing the Vampire Survivor.
Kirby's Avalanche type thing.
Yeah, kind of like that, or like another one's like Dr. Mario.
Dr. Mario, yeah.
Yeah, so like you play your Vampire Survivor map, and as you're playing it, people will send things to your map to make it harder. They can send like these Dust Devil things that try and knock you around. They'll, can do all sorts of different things and abilities, and each character has their own abilities, and you could pick an additional ability. So, but you never really see the other players. The only time you see the other players is if you die, you go into this thing called Heck, which is more or less a glorified AFK lounge, with some elements that you can kind of like have fun with. But it's a glorified AFK lounge because we're doing peer to peer, and so we needed to find some ways that people just didn't leave the game, and then we had to deal with host migration issues. Anyway, that was the whole reason why we made it. It was my idea. I was telling my buddy, I'm like, well, let's just put them in a lobby or something like that where they have to,
where
like,
they can just
hang out,
watch and spectate or something. Yeah.
We thought about doing a spectator mode, but it was still kind of like, well, it doesn't really keep people there, so we needed people to kind of more or less be engaged throughout the entire match. And the games aren't very long anyway, so it worked out. But anyways, so you never see the players, but these things are happening to you. And one of the big critiques that we've had early on, even when I first came in on the project, because I came in after the not later in the 3 months after they started working on it, like not long after, but they still had the base concept. I'm like, wait a second, I don't understand. Like, is there it's multiplayer? I'm playing with people, but what are these things happening to me? It was really confusing. So more or less, we got more of that feedback, and like they want to basically completely rework the game loop. And then my perspective is like, let's just make it feel more like a multiplayer. We need more visual cues,
pop-ups, like
we need
Jeff
more
just sent you
things to show you,
know?
more things to highlight what is actually happening. And that's basically the big rift. And they're like, we're doing that, but they want to do this other thing too, and they got really excited about it. And I personally hate it, and so now we're in a big fight.
Focus. Yeah.
Now we're in a big fight about it, and it is what it is. Internal struggles about the game.
But if you're
and
not,
it doesn't help either.
At odds about creative decisions, you're not making aggressive enough creative decisions. Like, you have to have, in some senses, conflict. I mean, that's like another one of the reasons I don't think AIs are going to win, right? Because they're just going to give the easiest answer, and like the best answer is never the easiest answer. It's usually come through like debate, decision, staying up at night and being like, those jerk, like, and then you wake up the next day and you have a solution, and like, those are, I think, hugely important parts of the process. I mean, they're not fun, but I think they just have to happen for good quality outcomes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, it also doesn't help that I'm building it with I'm working on it with one of my best friends. So one of my best friends and a couple other of my friends. So it's like, we have, what is it, like freaking 20 plus years of friendship, of wanting that we've never ever held back anyway. So like getting in disagreements, and this is just like no holds bars, like it's time to fight.
yeah. But it's good.
Anyway,
if you get through the fight stronger, then it's a win, right? Like, I mean, I feel like,
we'll see how it goes. We have
going through it, but yeah,
we'll see how it goes. At the end of this month, we have another. We're going to do another play test, and I've gotten them to commit to just do it with the visual updates. And I was like, and I'm going to do a much more streamlined process to actually receive feedback. I actually got the idea from somebody else that I had on the show. He put out a demo, and when you hit the exit button, it opens up a link to give you feedback. And I was like, oh shit, that's so smart. So basically, it like almost forces people to try and give you feedback. I was like, shit, so we're going to do that this time. So now when you play it, because not everybody played with us, and some people may not play, it's a little bit complex. And so like this way now people can kind of experience and play it and then give feedback without any sort of heavy monitoring, and also do it anonymously so that they can be even more rude.
Yeah. It's good, dude. Rude is, if someone is mad, then they have felt something,
Yeah.
That's it's critical, and it's no, I mean, it's interesting. Like, the Vampire Survivor genre is tough. I did build competitive games, and there's a lot of tricky things, and there are ways, to make. I would look at some of those, I mean, I'm always about research, but I would just see, hey, how, because the most difficult thing to build is a fully synced game where two people are playing against each other live, even more, especially 4x4, because getting 4 people in a lobby at the same time is like brutal unless you have, like 100 DAO or something, daily actives. And so like, how do you make async fun? Can you like record someone's playthrough and like, you know, or like do like, you know, like Kirby's Avalanche and say, oh, this tree always just sends you tornadoes or whatever. And like, you know, how do you make the asynchronous antagonistic feel like a person, feel personal is always very, it's tough. I mean, we were trying to do that in World Seekers, right? Where you can catch these points of interest. And we don't have multiplayer, but we're essentially just making up a name and saying, Jeff stole your defense tower and now you don't have this buff anymore. There's no such person, you know, like, but I mean, we're just naming and saying, oh, hey, the such and such, you know, fantasy name XYZ stole your water shrine and now you can't get freezing attacks unless you go back and recapture it. And like, you know, those types of tools, like, yeah, I mean, I feel like, and maybe it's just my perspective, but I feel like the illusion of multiplayer is much more important than the reality of multiplayer.
Yeah. Well, and that's, you know, it's son of a bitch.
But yeah,
I mean,
sorry.
That's exactly, I mean, you're basically just hammering home what I was more or less professing. But it's like, one of the big things too is just like, my big thing on like wanting to change this big portion of it is like, with a playtest, you basically, it's like peeling back the carpet and finding all like the bugs, all the cockroaches and all the, like, now you're like, okay, now I see all the gross nastiness under the carpet. And it's like, cool, let's clean what's under this carpet and make it good. And then they were like, this carpet's ruined, let's go into another bedroom. And I'm like, well, we don't know what's in that bedroom. We know what's in this bedroom. You know what I mean? And that was my arguing point. I was like, we know what's in this bedroom. You know what I mean?
And it's also like,
we know
things
we see it all.
Project, or is it a future project? Like, to some degree, getting a project done and launched and starting another one with whatever, you know, new vision you have, that's okay. Because if you launch before you pivot, you still have time, then you can launch that game, let it make money, and then pivot into a new project with those, you know, pivot into the new room later. But, you know, getting to, you know, I think some of the game studios that I've seen have monetary success are not the ones that make a perfect thing. They're the ones that make lots of games and they pump them out, like Sokapop or Sakupapu or whatever they call it, where they make a game every month. And some of them hit, some of them go nowhere, but the people pay for the monthly subscription. They get a game every month. And it's like a very, you know, I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm getting off topic. I just always been very fascinated by creative process. It's hard.
Yeah, and it's navigating the direction to go is very difficult too. It's like, do you want to? My philosophy on it as well is like obviously let's perfect what we have. We know what we have. Let's perfect it. Let's make it great. And in its current state, it may not be perfect. It may not be exactly what you're looking for. But not only that, it's like, you know, we generally have a lot of things planned for it as well. It's going to be free. It's a live service type of deal that we're doing because we want to be uninhibited by, we just want to build on this thing. Like, we want to continue to build it and stuff like that. We have tons of ideas and things that we want to do with it. And we don't necessarily need it off the bat to make any sort of commercial success. It's more of just like our creative playground. And I believe getting it out in its current form and then building upon it while garnering an audience is really important, and staying true to release dates and things like that and staying on task. But anyway, I don't want to get too sidetracked because I'll probably put this in the episode and then they'll look at it and be like, you're such a fucking
bad mouthing us online.
yeah. No, but I mean, I'm also an open book. So I mean, anything that I say is pretty much, I've told them. Like, it's not like a secret. You know what I mean?
No.
And I think it's also important too. Like, I think it could be important too, depending on other devs out there. If they're listening, it's like, look, man, you hit bumps, you hit rocks, you have disagreements. Sometimes you don't know how it's going to end up, and you just keep trucking along and pushing forward and hoping for the best. And then hopefully you settle the disagreements and move forward. And that's, I don't know.
Yeah. I think
maybe I'm doing it all wrong. Who knows?
No, I think you're dead right. Like, I mean, I think when, you know, even like with like a structured organization, like if, like, let's say you're the manager and it's your team that doesn't disagree with you rather than like a group of equals. Like, I think that's actually sets you back so much, because I think the conflict is so important to, you know, someone being able to like be like, Jeff, this is stupid, you should stop, and then me being like, well, I don't know, you're dumb. And you know, like, I think that does, as long as like, hey, at the end of it, like you say, hey, I don't agree with you. I respect you as a person. Let's, pick this up, whether we need to cool off, whatever. But I think as long as it's done civilly, like I think conflict does make a better long-term outcome. And it's,
Yeah.
the separation point is often like how you manage conflict versus if it's
Yeah.
there or not. Because I think if you're doing anything creative that is pushing any sort of boundary, like you're just building a ripoff if you're not, in conflict at some
Yeah.
point.
Mm. Yeah. No, I think you're spot
But
on
yeah.
with that for sure.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe that's like, I'm sure like all my, people that I work with will be like, well, Jeff, guess what? Like, since you said this on this podcast, I think you're dumb and you're wrong. And I'll be like, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
So I want to kind of circle back about with like your writings and stuff like that. Like I'm on your
Yeah.
site, and also just like what is Final Boss? Like what is this screen name? Obviously, what the
MVP.
hell is my name too? But I'm just curious. Like what is where did we come up with that?
Yeah. I mean, so the origin story of that is, I was working in tech after leaving, doing more creative stuff with my brother for many years. And I was like, my skills, they're not developing. And I always remember that the best way to develop as a creative, as a writer, as whatever, was to edit, right? And to say, and not edit necessarily something finished, edit something in progress. That's why I love, when people send me game builds that are still have a lot of bugs. And because so much of, editing in any form, whether it's a story or whether it's a game or whatever, is, trying to find like, hey, what's that hook that's in there that maybe isn't been realized or has a bunch of like stuff on top of it that's burying the hook.
Mm.
And so, building that muscle I've always thought was very important. So then I was like, hey, you
Mm.
know what? I'll edit people's stories for free. And it was initially screenplays because that was like my background. I'll edit
Right.
people's screenplays live on Steam for free or on Twitch for free. And I would do like first 15 pages. And then as time has gone on, I've just probably been too lazy to come up with another name. I probably should, but I've mostly just been like, oh yeah, now that I'm making games, it's Final Boss Games, and now that I'm making whatever, it's whatever. And so yeah, but then I also started putting my own writing up on stream because I was like, hey, if I'm gonna critique someone, they should be able to see the hard parts of my own creative process, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
what you were discussing with your team, right? Is like often, writing can be very solitary and I talk, from that thing, you talk to a lot of creatives that have like stopped because it's so brutal,
Yeah.
and they'll be like, I had this idea for a story and I couldn't, and then I just stopped. And same with game devs, they'll be like, hey, I was building this game, I never got it to release. I got stuck.
Mm.
And I think for me, it was very much just like, hey, look, like it's not like the reason I'm pushing through these projects is not because I think they're where they need to be. It's just that they're either done, and you just got to get them to the best finishing point you can. And like,
Mhm.
I hope it was valuable for people to see me being like, oh, I'm frustrated with this story, this game, still not where I want it to be, but I'm still going to put it out there and try my best to like share it,
Mhm.
and get it to a place where it's at least shareable. Because, being a creative is just being dissatisfied with your work. And I think normalizing
Yeah.
that is like, is part of what I think can hopefully help the community is say, hey, you are going to feel like I'm a fraud, I'm a piece of crap, I stink,
Oh my
everybody's
god.
laughing. If I send this to somebody, they're gonna laugh at me, all that stuff. And it's just like, yeah, like it's terrible, it stinks, it's a horrible feeling, but we all feel it, and just try your best to do it anyways, and
Mhm.
just to just accept the suck, and keep
Mhm.
creating. And hopefully, that was kind of where the writing part of it emerged, was, me just trying to help, let people see like, hey, I like, when people, my novel, is published on ebook and audio, and it's coming out on hardcover in a couple of months. And I'm still like, when somebody reads it, when somebody like sends me, hey Jeff, I just read your book, I'm like, oh shit. Like, like, oh no. Like, they know I'm an idiot now. Like, they've found me out at last. They got me. But but then obviously, more often than not, they're very kind, though I know they're lying and they really hate it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it's part of that process is, I think, it's a huge part of being a creator, is just dealing with
Yeah.
how mean our brains are, and
Yeah.
hopefully, you know,
Shit.
just trying to like, yeah, just say, hey, it stinks. You know, I can't stop it, but at least you're not alone. You know, that's where so much of, you know, stuff comes from, I think.
Yeah. Oh man, that rings really true. I do. I've said this before too. I say that a lot. I've said this before because I've so many of these episodes, they kind of get a little repetitive sometimes, and I try to keep them fresh because it's like that's why I'm more interested on like who the person that I'm talking to is interested, so that I don't. If someone comes back, they're like, this guy just says the same thing over and over and over again. But in this case, me and my wife, we actually met in theater, and so it's like then we went off to teach like kids theater and stuff like that, and it was one of those things that you just like you're sitting there like it's a creative process. You got to put the thing together. You got to do the new musical scores and all the different things. Do the set design. Do all these different things. And it's like you're looking at it just like shit. This sucks.
Yeah,
you're like
brutal.
it's not good enough. It's not good enough. And you just sit there and you're bending and torquing, trying to get it to where you want it to be, and it's still not good enough. And then finally, you just got to launch it because that's the crazy thing. That's the one thing that like learning like about theater is like eventually you just got to put it out there.
You have to put the show
no matter
out,
what state it's in, you got to put it out there and then let people watch it, and you kind of go from there.
Yeah.
So it's like then you put it out there and finally you get the feedback. It's like that was amazing. And it's like, what?
Really? We weren't watching the same show.
Did you watch the same thing? Because
Yeah.
But it's one of those things too. It's just like you know all the problems with it because you're in it, you're doing it. You're like all all of the shortcomings of whatever you're building because you're doing it all the time. But no one else does. No one knows what No, I mean maybe some people might pick some things up, but for the most part, nobody knows. Nobody has any clue all the little shortcomings, all the little insecurities and things that you did or try to work around to try and get the thing out there. And actually, it made me kind of turn a new leaf on stuff because I've had so many projects that I've started and never completed. And that's kind of what's launched me into where I am now, most recently. But I was so frustrated with not completing a creative endeavor, a creative project, or whatever. And I've had many that I've started that I just have not finished. That I finally said, fuck, I'm gonna do it. Whatever I set out to do, I'm just gonna finish it.
Be done. Yeah.
Fail, bad, whatever you want to call it. I don't care anymore. I'm like, I just need to finish the project because I had started so many things that I just hadn't finished that. But once I finally got a couple things finished, there was like I've told people this also, but like I kind of first started trying to mess around with game dev light with like Fortnite Creative. I don't know if you know about Fortnite Creative or whatever. It's just it's like, you know what I mean? You get to use all their assets and move them around, and it's simple. But it was also kind of like fun to just kind of like build stuff in it. And so like, and I made this kind of I made this game mode in it that I don't. Did you ever play Nintendo 64 like Conker's Bad Fur Day? Do you know what that game that is?
Oh, dude, like
with the squirrel.
Vaguely, it was a long time ago. I remember. I have a feeling like that was like the one where if your friends had that game, you were like, oh, I gotta go to like so and so's house and play. But it was like it was very hard to. Oh, did I break up?
Oh, there it goes. We're back. Okay,
sorry, my computer is slowly going the way of the buffalo.
That's all right. Hey, I lost you for like a second, and then now we're back. Okay, sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Right,
yeah, I remember Conkers was like the one that you had to like play and not see, like, you had to go to your friend's house and like be really, sneaky about it.
Yeah, pretty much.
But I don't think I ever was sneaky enough to actually play it, but I've heard about it. If that's any help. I was not a very
crude.
Clever.
It's very, very, very crude. It was one of my favorite games when I was a kid, and I had 4 or 5. I have how many brothers do I have? 5 brothers, and so. Yeah, I have come from a big family.
When you lose count, then you're just like, yeah, it's more greater than
we're
3.
a blended family, stepbrothers, half brothers. I have a few sisters, whatever. Anyway, so we would play Conker's Bad Fur Day. We'd all play the 4 players, and there was this one game mode called Beach, where like you had to stop the squirrels from running up the beach if you were the teddy. And you'd shoot them, or vice versa. If you were the squirrel, you were trying to make your way up the beach. It was supposed to be really crude. It's like I said, so crude. It was basically supposed to be like German stopping, like
D-Days.
yeah, more or less. But you were the squirrels, which were, it's so fucking rude, but you're basically like the more or less the Jewish squirrels trying to make their way up the beach. It's so wrong. It's totally a crude game. I didn't make the game, anyways. But that mode was so much fun. I loved playing that mode, and I tried to make like a version of that in the Fortnite creative world or whatever. And I tried to make it a long time ago, and then I never finished it. What else is new? And then I finally told my wife, I'm like, I'm gonna finish it. I'm gonna finish it to completion, whether it does well or doesn't, whatever, because they opened up like the marketplace and you could get paid to actually like make a game and things like that. Anyway, finally finished it. Nobody played it, whatever, not a big deal, but I finished it.
Yeah.
I finished it to the point where I felt good about it. And it felt so good to finally finish a project. Like I was
like a drug.
oh my, and I was just like, oh my God, I finally did it. Like I'm not thrilled that it didn't do great, but I'm happy that I finished the project. And then so it led me down this path. I'm like, that's it. I'm only gonna, once I start it, I'm gonna finish it. Even if it's like I'm finished it, didn't do well, at least I can say move on to the next thing. I finished it to completion. And I don't know how we got on that tangent, but I think it's so important to just,
it's extremely critical. Like I think with novel writing, like I'll often, you know, especially if someone's having like 90% of the challenges I've talked to creatives, like writers, game designers, anything is getting something finished, right? Like, and that's why, you know, you'll get a lot of writing advice, but one of the things I always tell folks is to like, you know, go to a draft structure, or in gaming, it's like a playtest structure, right? Where like in writing, you write the whole thing, first draft, or, you know, rough draft, if you're too like, you know, anxious to call it a first draft. And then you do your first draft and you edit that and you do that, then you do another draft, and you kind of work in these phases, because at least at each phase you have something that is, or at least closely resembles, a finished product. Like first draft is a complete story. Is it ready to be shared? No, but it's, you can give it to somebody, they can read it and they can be like, oh great, like, you know, I get it. Whereas and same with a game, right? Like one of the things that I've heard, and it's obviously easier to do, well, it's just different, is, you know, getting something to play testable. Can I send someone a build, they can play it, and they will have an experience, whether it's the one I intended or not, that's moot. But can I deliver something that gives a complete-ish experience? And then I kind of work with those benchmarks more often, especially if someone has trouble finishing. I think, like you said, like it's so critical to say, how do I structure my creative process around these digestible completion points, much more than, you know, I'll often be like, you know, if you have a new idea, write all those ideas somewhere else, but don't let yourself start until you have a draft.
Oh my God.
Like, do not start the other one. like right, you know, like just brain dump somewhere in a Google Sheet or in a Notion or whatever, but don't, you know, once you change the gear mid draft, it's very hard. Though again, I don't always take my own advice. There are many, and that's why I like doing the stream of my writing, where I'm like, you know, do as I say, not as I do. Like you'll see, like, oh, hey, you know, I'm, you know, working on a fun project for my nephew. You know, I don't know if you've ever read, it's also very crass, Dungeon Crawler Carl.
I know what you're I think I remember seeing it, but no, I haven't read it.
If you have a high tolerance for some ridiculous stuff, it's pretty funny.
I have a very high tolerance for it.
But essentially I wanted to say, oh, it's like a lit RPG where like you level up and it's like narrative. And I was like, oh, I want to make one of these that's appropriate for my nephew, you know, because I can't give him like Dungeon Crawler Carl, but he loves games, like anything where like everything in his world is structured by like leveling up, like, you know, or like, you know, he's like, okay, if I have this candy, how many broccoli points do I need? Which is like, how many pieces of broccoli do I need to eat? Like it's all like a game system to him. And so like, oh, that like he would really connect with like a lit RPG, right? And so like, you know, but again, like I've wrote a number of chapters. I haven't, you know, World Seekers has taken over for a little bit, but you know, maybe it's not so bad because it's in service to getting World Seekers to a stopping point, but we'll see. That's been a journey. World Seekers is a spicy one.
It I don't know if you've read this book, but it's called the War of Art. Have you heard of that book? Yeah. So we're talking a lot about like the world, you know, you can't be too attached to what you're making either.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's one of the things that that I find with a lot of indie devs is they try and make their this is the project I love. I fell in love with it, and I will make it forever because I need it to be perfect, because this is the story that has sit with me forever. And it's like, in that book, it really much talks about, it's like, be a professional. It's like, you're not gonna hit out of the park with every single one. Like, wake up, do the task, do what needs to be done, and get it out there and finish it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a good book.
And in that draft structure, right, or like in that playable builds for game structure, like, you have to set a deadline, like, because like you said, like, it's very, very tempting to be like, well, I'm not going to send out the playable, I'm not going to send out my first draft until it's where I want it to be. I think it's honestly good to have someone, and that's why, like, I always tell people when they give me feedback for World Seekers, like, I'm like, dude, I'm a writer, like, you cannot break my spirit.
You're not
down
gonna hurt
more
my feelings
than somebody who's read my writing, like, it's already at the hypothetical low. But no, it's but I think, like, it's such an important step just to, like, survive it, like, to, like, expose yourself to, like, I feel like it's terrible. This person maybe has feedback and says, and, I've had people, like, legit to my face be like, this doesn't make sense what you've wrote, this is terrible. And I'm like, okay, all right, like, I'm glad you feel that way, thank you, like, and you just, like, take it to the stomach sometimes, and, like, but other times you're like, oh, this person, they had feedback, they had things that I probably should think about and work on, but they also had some things of, like, identifying the things. So I'm like, always share your work with other people as soon as it's shareable.
Yeah.
And, and, and again, if you trust them, if they're just like a total jerk, then, you're probably in for a bad time. But if you're like, hey, this person, like, kind of understands the creative process, I trust them. And then I think it's like, setting those dates is critical, man. Cause it's the creation, like, purgatory is not a good place to find yourself when you have when you're between heaven and hell and there's not really a good solution. That is very, very difficult, because then it just paralyzes you with more doubt, right? Because then you're like, oh, I couldn't do this, like, I'll never do it. And then it's achievable to get out of it, but it's just it's just a steeper hill to climb in a lot of respects.
I was gonna say something on top of that, and
sorry,
I just forgot it. No, you're totally fine.
I'm from the South, so, like, my ability to ramble about random topics, it's like next. I'm from Texas originally, so, like,
Oh, okay, right on.
Yeah, so I was laughing about, whenever I see my old Texas friends, like, in California, they'll be like, oh, let's go get dinner, or let's go do something and talk. But whenever I see the Texas friends, we'll just, buy some beer and just sit and chat for like 6 hours till like 2 a.m. And I'm like, I don't think this. I've not seen this happen. Like, they're just saying, oh yeah, how's so and so. So yeah, my chit chat level is very high in that respect.
Well, that's great. I hope. I mean, that ideally, it pays off, and it works out to a pretty good episode. I think we've actually covered quite a extensive amount of things, which is awesome. I mean, that's kind of the antithesis, or the purpose of the show, man. No offense to other creators out there, but I just feel like they get a little stuffy, especially they feel like they need to do an interview. Somebody on Reddit once called me a journalist because I was trying to promote this show, and I was like, a journalist? What the hell are you talking about? I'm like just some idiot with a microphone on the internet. I'm like, at best, this is a conversation I'm sitting down. Like, this would be like a conversation I sit down with somebody, like, over coffee or whatever.
Yeah.
We just hang out and talk or whatever. I'm like, and it's just, it feels more organic or whatever. And it's just more of I guess the best way I put it is like, imagine you're a fly on the wall while one of the most interesting games was being kind of conceptualized with, just to take one of your favorite creator, and he's sitting there just kind of spitballing this idea with somebody, and they're just sitting here chit-chatting back and forth. Like, I'd just love to kind of hear that conversation, how it kind of unfolded organically.
Yeah.
And that's this show.
World Seekers is your favorite game, people. It's what everybody loves. And so is
yeah, right. Anyhow, man, I think we did pretty good. What I'll do is let's do, if you're okay with it, and unless you have anything specific you want to talk about, we can kind of start to put a pin in it.
Cool.
Yeah, so let's do a little bit of an outro, give people a whole kind of where to find you, what get to talk about World Seekers, where to find it, what you want them to do, and just kind of give them a full rundown of, like, what you want people to do.
Yeah. So kind of like we discussed, I do a lot of random things. Most of the stuff is centralized at, Final Boss editing, where like kind of the most recent project I'm forcing myself to finish is generally the one getting posted on. Currently forcing myself to finish World Seekers and get that to a stopping point. But yeah, it's essentially Pokemon Go meets Hearthstone with a bunch of silly stories and stuff hidden away in it, and lots of really nerdy secrets. So if you like games like Blueprints, where you're discovering things and have to solve puzzles with all these other things, you should get my game. And even though it's not for sale, you should just send me money. I'll take it. And on the flip side, my novel is out on ebook and audio, The Distributor. You should check that out. And then the hardcover's coming later in the fall because the shipping is hard right now. And then, yeah, I think that's most of it. And then, yeah, if you ever want to, hear me ramble, I try to do streams every now and then and edit folks' work. So if you have a game or some writing that you want me to edit live on Twitch, you can send it over and I will do so.
Sweet.
Yeah,
right on, man. Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
there's the spiel. Well, thanks, Jeff. And if anyone is curious, it's Jeff and Jeff here today.
Yeah. Team Jeff.
Yeah, Team Jeff.
Team Solo Jeff.
Right on, man. This was a great show, and thanks again for being flexible, and everything turned out great.
Oh, well, dude. Well, thank you so much for doing this. Like I said, like I give an enormous amount of respect to folks like yourself who are able to juggle, the creative side and kind of the, just telling people and getting the word out and discovery. And like, yeah, thank you for roping us other devs in who are not as like proactive. And yeah, thanks for just putting all this together. I know it's like not a zero amount of work, and it takes quite a bit. So I appreciate it. Oh yeah.
Right on, man.
Dude, well, cheers. So nice chatting.
Yeah, for sure.